Good evening, Lisa.
Good evening, Andrew.
Good evening to you.
Good evening.
Bom.
Okay.
That's strange, isn't it?
Yes.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
2 stories to cover today, but we'll
Yes.
do them in a little more depth, I hope.
Yes.
As we launch into season 10
Season 10.
of Doctor Who, with the 3 Doctors, and there is the cover for the target book with the 3 Doctors, with Omega sticking what looks like his sort of long fingernails into all the Doctors' heads, but he's actually sort of energy.
Where did you
Meant
go?
to be. Oh, and here's the appropriate. Well, here's one of the DVDs, because that's the special edition, which I think we've got the special editions for both of the stories we're going to cover today.
Yes, probably.
But ooh, hello! I'm just kicking the Time Monster off. Don't worry, because we're going to watch the extras for the Time Monster later on.
And possibly 3 Doctors as
Maybe
well.
we'll see how much time we've got. But the 3 Doctors and Carnival of Monsters, they were shown 1972 to 73.
Yes.
But I got to see them in 1981, as they were shown as part of the amazing series of repeats on BBC Two.
The 5 Faces
The
of...
5 Faces of Doctor Who. Now,
Who.
did you see any of the 5 Faces
No.
of Doctor Who?
I don't remember seeing it.
Oh, right.
No.
Oh.
I mean, I would have been 9, so...
Because this, I think, was one of those things that caused a lot of Doctor Who fans to buy video recorders.
Yeah, so they could record the episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard this story several times from people that they got their video just in time to get these stories. But it's interesting that although it's credited to Bob Baker and Dave Martin, there's a fair old bit of rewriting that Terence Dix has to do.
That was mostly because of...
to make
it work.
To make it work as the 3 Doctors, because I think Bob and Dave originally wrote quite a substantial part for Hartnell's Doctor.
Yes, and then they didn't realise quite how ill he was.
And it became quite obvious that really all they could do with a little bit of film.
Because wasn't there a sequence where he runs down a hill or up a hill or something?
I don't know.
That was never going to happen. That would never even have happened in 1963.
No.
You would have got Chesterton to do it.
But you've got Omega, so you've got a big old sort of figure in Time Lord history. There is the thing that he was originally called Ohm, O-H-M.
Which is Who backwards.
Well, it's Who upside down.
Upside down, yeah.
If you write down O-H-M, then invert the bit of paper, it's Who.
It's Who,
Yeah. But although you've got Bessie having the registration Who won, and Barry Letts always says that wasn't his decision.
No.
That was Peter Bryant and Derek Sherwin. They
You
weren't.
think it should have been Who 3?
It shouldn't have been Who anything,
Oh, right, okay.
in Barry Letts' opinion.
Okay.
Despite the fact that it says Dr. Who, and Dr. Who in the end credits for the story. But it's a story. I think it was Terence Dix used to say that every week they'd get a letter from some fan through the post saying, "Why don't you do the 3 Doctors as a story?" And he'd look at and they go, "Oh, well, that's a stupid idea," and screw the bit of paper up and throw it in the bin. But they soon realised that you always need a good sort of kick off to the new season, don't you? So previously they were able to launch season 9 with the Radio Times cover
And Daleks.
and say the Daleks are back.
And the season 8 they launched the Master.
The Master. So what do you do for season 10?
Which is a big one to do.
You can't just do the Daleks again.
No.
Because everyone knows where you did that last year. So would it be possible to do the 3 Doctors? Is the first question. And of course, if Troughton had said no,
yes, it wouldn't have
that
happened.
would have been the end of it. And Barry Letts always used to say that you'd suggest something to Pat Troughton and he'd think about it for a minute, and he'd think very deeply about it, and he'd either go no, and that would be it, and you wouldn't change his mind, or he'd go great, we'll do that. And thankfully he said, great.
Yeah. I think by the look of it, he's enjoying himself because you've got the tension between the second and third Doctors, and that's actually something that's not tension. But Patrick Troughton and John Pertwee worked in very different ways. John Pertwee was always on point with his lines, where Patrick Troughton would feel his way around the line and come up with something that wasn't quite what he said on the page, but was close enough to be okay.
Because if the line was something like "come in, sit down," he might say "come in, sit down," or he might say, "Oh, there you are, go and have a seat."
Yeah. And John Pertwee used to get really cross because he'd say, "Well, if you don't say your line, I don't know when to say my line."
Yeah.
And Patrick Troughton would say, "Well, you say your line when I stop saying my line." So, it shows the way.
But they sort of came to a compromise, didn't they? That Pat would be more on script, and
John would be a little bit more flexible.
I think. But I never got to see them together at a convention.
No, but they had this thing at conventions where they would have a little bit of bickering, didn't they? I didn't get to see them, but I've heard about it.
There's great stories about American conventions where they'd have water pistols that got increasingly larger during the weekend, like
day by day.
super soakers by the end of it. And I think they really enjoyed... Because isn't there that story about is it Children in Need from 1985 when you've got like 22 people coming out of the TARDIS, and you've got Wogan and Patrick Moore and stuff like that, and Pertwee and Troughton start to have a bit of a bickering session.
But who's going to come first?
No, at the end about where the checks came from and stuff like that.
Yes.
And
Wogan looks really worried.
And Wogan thinks they're really actually having an argument, and I think Pertwee's whispering to him, "We're acting, you fool," know. And they sort of cut away rather quickly, where they've got this sort of routine planned. And then I think perhaps they'd not told anybody they were going to do it.
They should have possibly told somebody, yes.
But we've got the book, and the book.
We've got several versions of the book.
Yeah. The book is interesting also in that it describes Omega's world slightly differently to the way it's sort of realised.
And the singularity as well.
Yeah, because again, I think there's an extra somewhere about on some DVD where somebody says it's like this shimmering curtain of flame with the reflected off the brass walls or something like that, and really it's sort of a kettle boiling in the floor, isn't it?
There's absolutely no way you could do that in studio.
No,
not safely.
Well, no, I wouldn't expect them to try.
I mean, he perhaps could have had a little bit more oomph.
Yeah,
it's like the kettle boil. That's the kettle's boiled, and it's the steam you get after the kettle's boiled, and you just get a little bit.
But the production of these stories is all the wrong way round, isn't it? Because I forget how it works without looking it up. But you've got 3 Doctors, Carnival of Monsters, Frontier in Space, and I think they recorded. I think 3 Doctors is recorded last out of those 3. Okay. I think it's really, really close to transmission.
That's possibly to do with Pat's favourite.
Yeah, it was in order to get Pat, I think. They had to jiggle it round in the schedule or something. I forget what Pat was doing at the time. I don't know, but yeah, it's. I don't know if it's this one that sort of Dudley Simpson said he was basically dubbing the music like the day before, or even possibly even the same morning or something. God. It might be that one. I'm not sure. There are several sort of tales about that.
Yeah, my only complaint about the 3 Doctors is the way the TARDIS is shot.
Oh, you can see
the back
in the lab. Yeah, the camera's round a bit too much, and the doors are open, and you can see the back of it. Can't you? Yeah.
But that's, unfortunately, that happens a lot in the Pertwee
era. It happens more than you might expect, actually. And again, it's one of those sort of compromises. I think you just have to sort of make. I'm not sure there's much you can do. You can do about sort of changing it halfway through filming, recording, because
it just bugs me the bit.
Again, it's 10 o'clock, isn't it? And you've got to finish.
The lights are about to go out.
Yeah, and if some awkward so and so says you can see the back of the TARDIS, sometimes you just have to go with it. I mean, there's a story for Carnival of Monsters a bit later about bald caps coming loose and things like that.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But to me, in 1981, this was incredibly exciting to see this, because of course, you know, the week before a couple of weeks before we'd had the Crotons, because I think on the Five Faces it's shown the other way round. That I think Carnival is shown first.
All right. Okay.
So that Three Doctors was shown in the weekend of the week of the anniversary. I think.
Right.
Need to check that. But yeah. So I'd seen Hartnell and I'd seen Troughton, and to see them again was absolutely fantastic.
Yes.
And the moment Hartnell appears on that screen, yes, he's not well, and it's obvious he's not well, but he still knows what he's doing.
Oh yeah.
He knows what he's
what he's going to say.
What his role is.
If he is reading off off of a cue card.
Because the book cover is part of a. Let's see the book cover again. There it is. Is part of a set of publicity photos that they took and are in, I think, the Doctor Who Monster book.
Yes.
And I loved those photos. But as I've said elsewhere, if you count the number of spikes going into the head, Pertwee's got 2, Troughton's got 3 and maybe a little one, but Hartnell's got 4.
Yes.
And to me that was right, because Hartnell was the older Doctor and thus the most wise, which is of course nonsense.
Because he's the youngest.
Because he's actually the youngest.
Yeah.
But the idea that Hartnell had the best brain and needed 4 spikes in his head to submit, that was just the way I saw that photo, that picture. Yeah. But again, the special edition DVD. Let's briefly see what we've got. We've got, wow, I mean, look at this. You've got Katie Manning, Nick Courtney, and Barry Letts doing a commentary. You've got a making of with Katie, Barry Letts, Stephen Thorne, Terence Dix, Bob Baker. Was Doctor Who rubbish? Well, no, of course it wasn't. A defence against criticism of the classic series. And I think everybody on Twitch would argue that no, Doctor Who wasn't rubbish. So,
they're liking it.
Yeah.
They are liking
because
it.
it's interesting that the DVDs sometimes get a bit apologetic about certain aspects. And nobody seems to have cared recently. No. I'm quite right too. Girls, 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 in the 1970s. Katie, Caroline, John, Louise Jameson on being a 1970s Doctor Who girl. Pebblemill at One interviews with Pat and Bernard Wilkie. Blue Peter, The Whomobile. BSB highlights.
Right.
That was the weekend on the satellite channel where they just devoted the whole channel to Doctor Who for 2 days. It's a very weird thing to do, isn't it?
Yes.
Five Faces of Doctor Who trailer. BBC One trailer from 1972. 40th anniversary trailer. Beat Radio Times listings. Production subtitles. Is it 2 discs? Yes, it's a 2-disc release as well. So
let's get everything on it, isn't it? So.
But yeah, I love the 3 Doctors. Yes, there are certain aspects of the production that maybe aren't the top notch, but having all that extra screen time for Troughton is brilliant.
And the people watching it on Twitch last night were terribly excited.
Yeah. Troughton, Hartnell. Yeah, brilliant. Anyway, Doctor Who and... hang on, I've got to get out now. Ooh, there we go. The Carnival of Monsters, or Carnival of Monsters. And weirdly, that picture of John Pertwee there is, I think, based from the same... Yeah, that's taken from another of the shots from the 3 Doctors photo shoot.
All right.
Because he's back to back with Troughton. Yeah. And there's the special edition of the DVD.
There goes the Time Monster.
And there goes the Time Monster again. I must stop kicking the Time Monster when it's down. But what do you think? Carnival?
I love Carnival Monsters.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that.
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's just fun. Everybody's having a great time. You've got great guest stars. I mean, Leslie Dwyer. Yeah. Leslie Dwyer's having the most fun ever. He's having so much fun his hat steams up.
But Leslie Dwyer, I mean, I can't think of anything remotely like Doctor Who that he's done.
Because he was known for doing
before or since
films, really.
But he seems so at home in that character.
He does.
Because it's not a sci-fi character.
No, it's not. It's just.
I think it's excellent casting.
He's just a showman, isn't he?
And later on, he's Mr. Partridge in Heidi High.
One of your favourite characters.
Yeah, and I love him as Mr. Partridge. but because it's a recognisable character, he's got something to latch on to.
Yeah.
And he knows the role of his character, even maybe if he doesn't know, what the rest of the story is necessarily about. I mean, I don't want to sort of do him down. Maybe but it's that trick Bob Holmes has got of, and you start to see now really.
Yes. Bob Holmes writes great characters.
Yeah,
and great
recognisable characters in weird settings.
Yes.
So the actors can latch onto the character, and Bob can chuck mad ideas about on the screen. Because this whole idea of two worlds, it's partly a production decision that you could film all the stuff on the ship in one set. You got the filming, obviously, but then you have all the stuff on the ship in one studio block, and then you have all the stuff in the spaceport in the other studio block. And Bob, when given that, that's how you've got to write it.
Yeah.
You can see his professionalism. That's what I do then. Yeah, and yes, the only crossover between those two worlds is when Pertwee comes out of the miniscope. And I like the thing about this miniscope is infested with tiny John Pertwees. How do we lure them out? And the answer was sandwiches.
Food of any kind, really. Cheese. Anything. Yeah.
But then there's the filming on the ship, and there's the story that Barry Letts used to tell about the missing compass.
Oh yes.
The ship was going to be broken up.
Yeah, it was going to go for
scrap.
For scrap, and a certain somebody, whose name should not be mentioned,
JP,
decided that they wouldn't miss the compass,
and
it looked nice in his house.
Yeah.
And he unscrewed it, and
took it away.
And
then there was sort of a flap, and they weren't allowed to leave till whoever it was had took the compass, owned up.
Yeah.
And John quite rightly said, well, it's going to get scrapped, isn't it? You're going to throw it away. And they pointed out that something like that they'd actually auction off.
Yes.
Because people would actually pay money for it.
You can't just steal it. It might be the Doctor, but you can't just steal it.
Was it Barry Letts said there were an awful lot of brass screws he had to undo to get at it.
He worked hard.
Yeah, it wasn't like he just walked out with it up his jumper, or in his up his
under his cloak.
Under his cloak, yeah. Maybe that's why he always wore the cloak.
He didn't wear a cloak in that one, actually, did he?
Not
he
sure.
Got a cloak.
Not sure.
No.
Let's have a look at the picture.
Yeah.
Well, he's got his green jacket on.
Oh yeah, well, he's not going to hide any grey. He looked like a humpback.
And you got Pete Halliday.
Yes.
And you got Michael Wisher.
Michael Wisher, I'd not realised how many times Michael Wisher pops up in the Pertwee era.
Oh, he's always there.
This is his third appearance in three. He's in one story every season.
Yeah.
Because he's in Ambassadors, he's in Terror of the Autons, and he's in Carnival Monsters.
Yeah. And he's going to be back again fairly soon.
He is going to be back fairly soon.
Yeah.
In a completely different part.
Yes, indeed.
With a new Doctor.
Let's talk about Shirna's dance as well.
Yeah.
I really think that's funny.
Yes.
But, we put on a show. Do 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 do. No. And that is very, very funny no matter how many times I see it. One thing we haven't seen or heard is the Delaware theme tune, though.
No. Oh my lord, yes.
I like the Delaware theme tune.
Different.
With reservations.
Yes, it is different. It needs a bit more oomph, I think. Yeah. That's all it is.
It's a bit too twinkly and slightly out of tune.
And if you don't know what we're talking about, go to YouTube.
And type in Delaware theme tune.
And you will be amazed.
This is, because it was the 10th anniversary, there was the idea, well, let's rearrange the theme tune. We've got synthesizers now. We can have a go. And they had a go and dubbed it onto the episodes.
Episode 2, isn't it?
Well, episode 2 is where it well, we'll get to that, yeah. It was dubbed onto episodes and played back, and everybody sort of went, don't tell Barry, but that's a bit rubbish, isn't it? And eventually sort of everybody admitted they hated it. But by which point copies had been made and sent to Australia of the episodes, because I think there's an episode of Frontier in Space that's got it on as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
wow.
I think it's episode 5 possibly. I'm not sure. And then they hurriedly changed it back to the old theme tune. But I don't mind it. I'm not sure it works actually on. But I'm a sucker for rearrangements of the theme tune
you do like
anyway.
rearrangements of the theme tune. Yes.
Just how much you can change it and still make it recognisable. So I've got no real problem with it. And it's a bit Navy Larkish as well. This episode,
which
isn't
is appropriate because you of course have 10-11s.
Yeah.
As Major Daly, who was a co-star of John Pertwee's in the Navy Lark.
Yeah, because I mean, John's still working on the Navy Lark.
He is still working on the Navy Lark, yes.
Which is his radio comedy series set on board ship. And there is a supervillain in the Navy Lark called the Master.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, I don't think have I ever played you any?
Possibly not. No.
There was a recurring evil genius in the Navy Lark. Yeah. And Pertwee plays the Master in it. Yeah, because he's known only as the Master.
Gosh.
So it's very weird to hear some of those thinking them being made around the same time.
Well, that is something I noticed, and we didn't mention it last night because I'd not really paid enough attention, obviously. But the Master is just credited as Master.
Yeah, not the Master.
Master. Like, that looks weird. And also, I must apologise, I got confused between Curse of Peladon and Time Monster.
With Jojo Grant.
Yeah, Curse of Peladon, she's Princess Josephine of TARDIS, and in Time Monster, she's the Lady Jojo Grant.
That's right, yes indeed.
Just to clear that up. And also, Ice Warrior Stories, that I can't remember the names of. Cold War, Empress of Mars.
That's the ones.
Yes, I do know my stuff really, I just forget sometimes.
At least we correct ourselves if we forget things or get things wrong.
Sorry to put it all in there, but I've just sort of thought.
Yeah. But there's 2 lovely stories.
I want to get Ian Marter as well. Ian Marter in Carnival
Ian
Monsters,
Marter, yes.
who will pop up again also very soon.
Because Ian Marter, at this point, it's about the time he's in Crown Court as well, isn't he?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. I'd need to check.
Is that for the first time or the second time?
Need to check the dates. Because, first of all, he's a policeman, isn't he? And then later on...
He's one of the barristers.
Yeah.
And he's absolutely stunning because there's... Obviously, we won't go into it too much because that would be talking completely on a different subject. But there's a scene that he does with
Mary Wimbush.
And she's got this really long speech, and it cuts to him, and he looks terrified.
Yeah, he looks absolutely stunned.
Yeah, and the judge is, would you like to ask a question, Mr. Laura? Mrs. Ford. No, I'm sorry, Mr. Ingram.
Mr. Ingram.
Mr. Ingram, would you like to ask a question?
But Ian Marter in Crown Court is well worth looking at. Yes. Anyway, we'll say good night now.
Yes.
And, what's the next one? Monday night.
Monday night.
Yeah.
Frontier in Space.
Yeah.
And Planet of the Daleks.
Just those 2.
Just those 2.
Right,
12 episodes.
Okay. Well,
and watch out because you might be finding a new title sequence soon.
Sorry?
A new title sequence.
Oh, right, okay. Don't give it away.
For JP.
I see. Okay, well, we'll say goodnight then and see you again soon.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.